maybe not as much as them. They were like some street dudes, you know. So it makes me think like, okay, if they're willing to be out there robbing people, what was going on back in those days? You know, coming out of, you know, were people still rocking zoot suits? Were they zoot suiters sometimes, or was that kind of dying out? You know, were they loved at home? Were they abused at home, forgotten? You know, or was it like just bad seeds? You know, was it drugs? Is it because they started drinking and smoking and doing heroin at a young age? You know, I could speak, you know, from my, you know, father at least, and other family members. You know, they back then, you know, they in fact started doing heroin really young, and it's crazy to me to think about that because that wasn't like my life, but not like that. But anyway, I digress. But they look like, you know, average Joes, you know, not necessarily people that would just like fatally stab, you know, poor old Hovey here.
The murder of Hovey was not the only crime committed that night by Mapa and Chavez.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Together with two other boys, 15-year-old Frank Torres and 14-year-old Alex Torres, were arrested and accused of assault with a deadly weapon for the non-fatal stabbing of Jacinto Perez. On November 1st, 1944, Mapa and Chavez pled guilty to second-degree murder in juvenile court and were turned over to the California Youth Authority for incarceration. The California Youth Authority was established in 1941. The CYA's mission statement was a desire to replace retribution and punishment with treatment and training. I have always maintained that if you live long enough, you will see the pendulum swing from the emphasis on punishment to rehabilitation.
So I think what we can kind of infer here, if I have it right, you know, 1944. So World War II is on right now, and leading up to this, there's a major kind of change in federal government come state government and the relationship between those, and how money is being distributed, you know, with respect to war, with respect to Western expansion and attempts at expanding the U.S. empire, which calls for different functions of labor, and meaning like coming out of ¿cómo se llama? Was it Eisenhower? The progressive era, I think it's Eisenhower. Yeah, the progressive era, and then into like Roosevelt, and you know the expansion of money to like, you know, federal recognized spaces and places and distribution into new systems of the economy, such as rehabilitation and all of the tendrils, the networks and the ecosystems from those compulsory education systems, compulsory participatory systems rather, whereas some of them are, you know, training of the head, some are training of the hand, some are, you know, maybe they're theological, religious based, some are trade based, some are, you know, incarceration, you know, and all of the ecosystems in and around that, all of that. So helps to form things like, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Education, the California Youth Authority, and all of the systematic, or the systems across those institutions, those actual spaces and bureaucracies and, you know, economic, you know, systems and agreements and purposes and functions, and you know, it's how stuff is created. So it's just like a trip for me to look back and to say, you know, to see how all of this is kind of playing out and playing into the emergence of what we know now as the California kind of, you know, detention system and Department of Corrections writ large at all levels.
There has to be a dose of both of these to appease society, bring justice, and hopefully accomplish rehabilitation. Unfortunately, the California Youth Authority became a breeding ground for aspiring bad boys and future career criminals. This environment only nurtured the anger and violence that was simmering beneath a young and tender veneer, seeking to erupt like a volcano. Mapa was sent to Preston School of Industries in Ione, California, to serve out his sentence. On September 25, 1945, Mapa and two wards escaped from Preston. A news article described the three boys as zoot suiters and pachucos.
Right.
Mapa was described as 17 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall, brown eyes, black hair, with knife scars on left temple, right cheek, nose, and right eye. Even at this young age, Mapa was a veteran of many violent confrontations, and as we can see, these events were etched on his face and head. One other interesting item included in the news article is that one of the other boys was described as having the number 13 tattooed on the back of his right hand.
Here we go.
Mexican gang history in the City of the Angels teaches us that vatos locos, crazy dudes, engaged in la vida loca, the crazy life, well before the 1957 formation of the Mexican Mafia. Chicano gang members adopted the number 13, representing the letter M, as a reference to the enjoyment of smoking marijuana, thus explaining the tattoo.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. I'm gonna let that play so I can get back to the clip. But that is brilliant. I love that. And this guy, Mundo, who's doing the, in all due respect to him and to the producers, Convicts and Cops, and everybody, I'm hoping to use this with due respect and proper citation. For breaking down this interesting history that 13 is for, yes, the M, the letter M in the alphabet as we know it now. Now it's 26 in the kind of Latin alphabet that's been around since the 1500s, right? That's been over here, at least as such, working in some ways within the Spanish dialects and then eventually English, in different iterations. Some people were using different versions of English still and older versions of Spanish, that are, different from what we know now. But the 13 to represent the M as the 13th letter of a 26 letter set would be different from a Spanish dialect, which I believe has 27, por lo menos, with the ñ, unless I'm forgetting something else. But I feel like I am. R, 28. But anyway, if it's the 13th well, I guess it would be the 13 in either one, because nothing precedes it that would add to it. So, but Mundo says it's for marijuana, which is really cool. That's really interesting. I love that history.